Hello everyone and welcome back to Level 7 Terror Raid Counters, and holy schnapps, this is a freaking raid right here. HISUI and DECIDUEYE, Level 7, Terra Grass, this is going to be a joke. You see a lot of options here. You see a lot of stuff here. This is not even all of it. This is maybe like 70% of it. But before we actually get into everything, please do not forget to hit that like button, subscribe for more, comment below what you're planning on using, because again, not everything is even up here, and some of these are a bit silly in terms of stuff. There are literally so many options for these raids that I did not have enough resources to actually build everything. So a lot of things are not going to have the right nature, they're not going to have the exact stats of what's it going to be, they're not going to have the right moves, because so much would go into building every single one of these into the way it is. There's just a lot, but a lot of them thankfully follow a similar archetype and a similar stat line out. However, before we go into that, we're going to go into what is the likely moves and likely combinations that the HISUI and DECIDUEYE is going to actually have. So, HISUI and DECIDUEYE. This is not the HISUI and DECIDUEYE from the raid. This is my HISUI and DECIDUEYE from Legends, as you can see from the Strange Ball and the little Legends mark. This is likely how I think that it is going to be laid out in terms of moves. Triple arrows, leaf blade. Rock Tomb I think is the most likely coverage option because every single typing except for poison, rock hits for super effective damage. Now the issue is, it gets Rock Tomb or Smackdown as its only real coverage move against the vast majority of what it's weak to, which is good for us because it's very weak. However, it gets both Swords Dance and a Bulk Up, which is a little bit dangerous potentially, and very likely, much like Rillaboom and Cinderace, it's going to be spamming those to boost up its stats into oblivion. Potentially, it could get moves like Acrobatics or Brave Bird as a flying type coverage. However, this would really only be for very specific Pokemon that are dual typings of things it is weak to, and primarily for bug types. Rock hits bug, it hits fire, it hits ice, it hits flying. However, this is good because Rock Tomb always drops speed. If it has Rock Tomb, that will activate moves such as Defiant or Competitive, and if it's Smackdown, you're not dropping your speed, and it's Smackdown. It's not that great. But almost definitely it will have Triple Arrows, which is its most powerful move. This move is freaking insane. It has a heightened critical hit chance, it has a, I believe, 50% defense drop chance, and it has a 30% chance to make you flinch. It is kind of insane. Leaf Blade, of course, high critical hit chance, very powerful. And again, Brave Bird or Acrobatics, likely going to have that for a coverage option, potentially. I think it's more likely going to have Rock Tomb. I think it's going to be an Adamant Nature, and the good thing is, it has very, very low speed. HISUI and DECIDUEYE is not a speedy Pokemon in terms of stats, so a lot of things you're not going to really need speed investment. It's best to go for physical defense over them. But now, as for the actual counters, and one of the main reasons why Poison is pretty much, I think, the preferred typing to counter this is it has no ground moves in its moveset. It has no psychic moves in its moveset. As well as the Loyal 3 are all Poison type. I think there's something to do with that. So, Skeledirge. We'll start off with pretty much what I think is the best budget option for taking it on. Again, items are not going to be the best for everything on this because, again, so many different options. However, again, Skeledirge. The only issue with it is because of Unaware, you will actually be avoiding any Swords Dances, any Bulk Ups, anything that could increase its damage output against you. You completely bypass that. The downside is if something is using Acid Spray or even debuffing its physical attack, you also ignore those. So if you minimize this thing's special defense, it actually doesn't do anything for increasing Skeledirge's damage. You're going to want the Shell Bell on it. Again, there's so many things that couldn't get a Shell Bell for literally every single one of them. But Shell Bell, max special attack. Scrappy will allow it to be hit by triple arrows, so that does kind of take it down a few pegs. But if you really have nothing better, it's a fairly strong option. HISUI and Typhlosion is another actually very, very strong, solid option. This is mine from, of course, Pokemon Legends Arceus. And the reason why this one is actually great is Infernal Parade. It's a 30% chance of actually inflicting burn and deals increased damage to a status enemy. Because HISUI and DECIDUEYE is a physical attacker, if you burn it, it's basically crippled. So the best thing you can do is slam this thing with as many fire moves as possible. The reason why Infernal Parade over something like Will-O-Wisp is if it does instantly set up the Terra Shield, you can't burn it with Will-O-Wisp. You need to go through secondary chance effects of moves. And again, Lava Plume, 30% chance of burning. Flamethrower, obviously fantastic. You can get rid of Flame Charge, of course, and replace that for like a move like Fire Blast. There's another Pokemon that we have that we will be going over a bit later that actually makes moves like Fire Blast and Hurricane extremely viable. You're gonna want max special attack and really max defense for this thing. Again, Shell Bell held item. This is what I would say is the single best overall Pokemon. Of all things, Galarian Articuno, or as I like to call it, Gardecuno. The reason for this, its ability competitive. Because it gets competitive as an ability, gets Air Slash, gets Hurricane, as well as Calm Mind, it can boost itself pretty heavily, as well as, again, competitive. Anytime this thing will use a move, if it gets Rock Tomb, if it goes for Triple Arrows, or if it gets Feather Dance, which it does actually learn Feather Dance, and if it uses that, that is going to be jacking your special attack up into absurdity. You're going to want Modest Nature on this to allow Galarian Articuno to do obscene amounts of damage. Again, Shell Bell held item. This Galarian Zapdos, or I like to call it Gyapdos, I would say is probably the weakest of the 3 Galarian birds. However, it has the best type combination. It gets Bulk Up, Drill Peck, can go for Brave Bird, but that's recoil damage. Shell Bell held item. Can't really go for a move like Acrobatics because you do want that Shell Bell held item. But it's strong, it resists, of course, fighting, it resists grass, it's neutrally damaged by rock moves. It has the overall safest typing. Galarian Articuno is potentially weak to dark or ghost moves, which it can learn, whereas Galarian Zapdos, there's nothing it has that you are weak to, other than if it has a flying type move, which still puts it in the firing line for that, with an overall weaker ability, because if it has Feather Dance, Defiant completely mitigates that. And if the ability is Purged, well, Defiant's not going to save you. The most reliable of the 3 Galarian birds is Galarian Moltres or Goltres. It is neutral to fighting, which is a little bit of a problem. However, you are also weak to rock, but that's it. You resist grass, you resist if it has any dark moves, if it has any ghost moves, you're neutral to flying. So the only thing you really have to worry about is Triple Arrows, or potentially moves like Rock Tomb, but that's a pretty big worry because those are some pretty good moves. And even if it is using Smackdown, Smackdown is still weaker than Stab Triple Arrows. Triple Arrows, when boosted by Stab, is 135 base power functionally, whereas a weakness to Smackdown is 120 base power. So you're going to have to be dealing with that physical defense drop. The reason why I would say it's a little bit better in some cases than Gardecuno is it gets a Nasty Blocked. So it can boost itself far more effectively. But its ability is overall a bit weaker because of Berserk. Rayquaza is another fantastic sweeper for this. Air Slash, Hurricane, all around pretty good. It doesn't have any special boosting options really, so it does kind of limit there, and you do not want to be using Dragon Ascent because that cripples your own defenses. But it's only weak to Rock Tomb or Smackdown, resists grass pretty heavily, it resists fighting. Overall, fairly solid, but a bit limited. And you're going to want Terra Flying for this. All of these Pokemon, you're going to want either Terra Flying for these birds, and of course Rayquaza. For the fire types, obviously you want Terra Fire. Mew is an oddity. This is my Mew largely somewhat retooled from the Mewtwo Terra rates. Instead of Bug, which you can actually still go for Bug, but it is better to go with Poison for your Terra type. You can also swap out Struggle Bug for a different move, likely Lunge, because it decreases physical attack when used. But Nasty Plot, Sludge Bomb, Acid Spray, you could also go for Sludge Wave. Overall, it's Mew, Modest Nature. There really isn't much that needs to be said about this Mew. It's Mew. It can set up and blast things. And here is where we start getting to the poison types. So, Gengar, Overqwil, Salazzle, and specifically Dragalge, because Dragalge is actually pretty cracked for this, is basically your acid spray attackers. A number of other poison types like Alolan Muk, Skuntank, that can also fit into this. However, I opted to go for really these ones because they all do largely the same role in that they are special attacking poison types that get access to acid spray to cripple the defense, and then Sludge Wave or Sludge Bomb for some big damage. Gengar also does resist both grass and fighting because even though Scrappy allows it to hit ghost types, Poison resists both fighting and grass, which I think is the intention here. Though it is weak to dark and ghost, which, with Gengar's frailty, is not good. Overquill provides a little bit better bulk, but overall significantly weaker special attacking power. Salazzle is quite frail, however, she does possess one edge over the others, and that is Nasty Plot. Nasty Plot, Sludge Bomb, Flamethrower, you want Terra Poison for it, specifically because you want to get rid of that fire typing for a potential weakness to moves like Rock Tomb or Smackdown, and go for some pretty powerful poison moves with your Terastallized Poison. So, you go for Acid Spray, then if you need any other moves in order to build up your Terastallize more, you use Flamethrower. When you Terastallize, then you hit it with the Terra Poison Sludge Bombs. And Dragalge is the weird one, because even though Dragalge's stat line is very, very defensively focused, you're going to want, again, Modest Nature for this. Its big edge specifically comes in its ability of Adaptability. This, instead of a 50% boost to all same type attack bonus moves, this turns into a double boost, which further stacks with Terastallize. So, a move like Sludge Bomb, for example. Is normally 90 base power. With same type attack bonus, it would be 135. Normally. But, with adaptability, its base power is 180 before super effective. This is why, despite its significantly lower special attack stat than many other Pokemon, it from the gate has a significantly higher base power. It does not possess many boosting mechanisms, but it does get Acid Spray, so it can be some support damage. It's a bit of a weird hybrid in that sense. Again, Sludge Bomb, Sludge Wave. It has significantly more power from the get-go, but it does fall off a little bit without any means of setting up, but it can be sort of support hybrid damage. And now we get into what I believe is probably one of the intended users for this battle, and that is Ogerpon. The issue with Ogerpon is that it cannot be holding the Shell Bell. It needs to be holding the Hearthflame Mask, as that will make Ivy Cudgel a Fire-type move. I know it says it's Grass right here, but in battle it will be a Fire-type move. And even though it has Bulk Up in its moveset, the masks give Ogerpon a boost to all of its stats, I believe it's a 20% boost, and Ivy Cudgel has an increased critical hit chance, which allows it to bypass any and all of those boosts that is applying. The issue with this is it doesn't really have a way of decreasing the physical defense, so even though it can bypass them, it can't really debuff them. I also don't think it's going to be as good because, again, there are flying moves that Decidueye can get access to, and it does also have rock moves. You don't get Defiant anymore because you have that as your standard ability, so it looks good in theory, but in practice, it's not good. You want Adamant Nature for this one. I also believe that potentially Monkey Dory may be the intended one for this, as it is a special attacking Psychic Poison type, so it resists both Grass and Fighting very heavily. It is not weak to anything other than the Ghost or Dark moves that Decidueye has, and even then those are quite weak. They are Knockoff or Sucker Punch for the Dark moves, and it can't really do much to Monkey Dory, but Monkey Dory is also incredibly frail, and there are many other poison types that just have more effective toolkits outside of it. And now we get into some more of the sort of support options, and really the last actual attacker, and that is Slitherwing. Again, you're going to be wanting to use some fire types against this thing, and Sun especially, and Slitherwing actually matches well with that. It gets Lunge, it gets Bulk Up, it gets Leech Life, so it actually is quite powerful in that regard, but again, physical defense is getting boosted if it has access to, well, Bulk Up or Feather Dance, which is not good for you, and if it does get Brave Bird, that is enough to really take you out. Now, we get into our really dedicated support, and that is Koraidon. Now, if you're going to be running Koraidon, you're going to be going for, say, Screech. You're going to be going for some maybe Terra Fire with Terra Blast Physical Fire. Do not go for Flare Blitz, that is a bad idea. This thing is meant to be setting up the Sun, giving a boost to its allies that have Fire-type moves, and starting to blast things with them. Screech is helpful for debuffing the physical defense if you're going with the physical stats for certain Pokemon, but overall, it's not the greatest. Now we go to our classic best buddy supporter, Revavroom. Screech, Acid Spray, Taunt. You really don't need anything more for this thing. Overheat for some strong fire damage. Alolan Muck. All in all, very good. Acid Spray, teach it special moves such as Sludge Bomb and Sludge Wave. You're pretty much good to go. Not really too much impressive. Other Sunsetters, Torkoal or Ninetales, regular Ninetales. Again, both set up Sun, both have powerful Fire-type moves. I would say Torkoal is the better one to go for, as it has significantly higher bulk, physically speaking, and even though Ninetales is significantly faster, it is significantly more frail. Torkoal, if you're going to go with fire moves, I would not go with Eruption. I would go with Flamethrower, Fire Blast, give it Helping Hand for support options, and potentially Clear Smog to, well, keep the boost under control if the HISUI DECIDUEYE is going crazy with that. Fun support option number 2 is Espathra. So, Espathra for this one, again, Opportunist Fantastic ability, but the moves for it, you're going to want to teach it actually stored power, because, again, if it boosts, you're going to copy all of those boosts, and you got Lumina Crash for just debuffing this thing's physical defense into absurdity, and it's just kind of silly what you can do with this thing. But yeah, it's support, it's off-flavor Acid Spray, but it's also weak to Ghost and Dark, so a little bit of problems there. But again, it's just a silly fun option. And now we get into some hyper DPS options that are a little bit of a big risk, and that is Chandelure, Charizard, and Volcarona. This is my Charizard, actually, from Sword and Shield, the one I use on my Sunburn team. And the reason why these, I would say, are here, but they're sort of janky, fun options, is, of course, both Charizard and Volcarona are quad weak to Rock. If this thing has Rock moves, they're gone. You have Volcarona's also weak to Flying, not a good thing for it, but they offer some pretty insane power. Chandelure is a little bit bulkier than them and is not, of course, double weak to Rock, but it's not super fast. It's also not the sturdiest thing in the world, but it does offer significantly high power. But Charizard's main thing, solar power. You can get this thing under Sun with solar power, and you hit Fire Blast, Flamethrower, Blast Burn. You're doing insane damage. Volcarona, Quiver Dance, Fiery Dance, Bug Buzz, all of those are fantastic options. And there really isn't too much that's different about these. They're just big, beefy, blasting glass cannons. However, they also take a lot of damage. And with really all of that done, dusted, and wrapped in, we come to the final, most janky support option, Diplin. The reason why Diplin, even though you do not want Sticky Hold for this, is its ability of Super Sweet Syrup. This, we don't have the ability on this one. There we go, Super Sweet Syrup. So we've got the Sweet Scent across the field the first time it enters battle, lowering the evasion of the opposing Pokemon. This drops evasion by 2 stages for Pokemon that you're going up against. What this means is it makes every move more accurate. If the math is correct, that is a accuracy increase of 5/3. So it increases accuracy by about 60%. Again, if the math is correct, I believe that is correct for 2 stages. But basically, what that means is your actually goes up a heckin' lot. And it does an accuracy boost more than enough to make moves like Hurricane, like Fire Blast, like Blizzard, go from accurate but a significant mischance to these moves will always hit. And when we're talking about Terror Raids, every iota of damage is incredibly important. So, Diplin is like the closet tech support, letting Fire Blast, Hurricane, all these moves do out insane amounts of damage, increasing the reliability of attackers. However, Diplin, I would say, is reserved exclusively for if you're coordinated lobbies. Move-wise, Diplin doesn't really get too many good moves. It gets Pollen Puff to be support, but mostly it is just there to increase accuracy of allies so they can blast past it. You're going to want to go full-out bulk for maximum HP and maximum physical defense with this thing, but yeah, it's really just that Power and Puff is really the only other thing you can give it to heal allies, but there really isn't much that Dipplin actually is doing other than just making allies able to hit stuff even better. Once again, guys, if you haven't done so already, please do not forget to leave a like, subscribe for more, share this out to your friends, and we will see you next time when we are actually battling these HISUI and Decidueye Terror Raids, and comment below what you're planning on bringing. Remember, if we get to 3,500 subs by the end... Remember, if we get to 3,000 subs by the end of the year, we're going to be Nuzlocke and Radical Red. I will see you guys next time.